Hello, this is Mandy Sanghera, an international human rights activist from the UK. I'm really excited to be at the event today and talk about passing the elevator back down. We have seen that gender equality has always been an issue before the pandemic. Women were paid 24.5% less than men. So that was across, the West. And in some parts of the world, women have been paid even less. But we've also seen that actually gender equality now is gone back a further 36 years. That is according to the World Economic Forum. And then we've seen that actually women to get equality in the workplace and to be paid equal, it's going to take another 257 years. That's not going to happen in my lifetime. So that is something that I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to see how the class of 2020 and 21 has been affected. We've seen young people not getting graduation jobs, or not actually coming up with the grades that they wanted to. Young people no longer wanting to go to university because they're not getting the experience that they thought they were. And then we've also seen women being really affected by the pandemic. We've seen women juggling multiple responsibilities, so many balls in the air. So they may be becoming a teacher to their children. They may be becoming a carer. They may be trying to work from home and then trying to also maybe manage a business. So we have seen women really juggle a lot. And actually some of those balls have dropped. We've also seen a lot of other hidden pandemics as well as the pandemic. One around mental health, the other around domestic violence. And, we really need to talk about some of those issues and look at the inequalities that people have been facing for years that have now come to the surface like never before. We have seen people with from the BME community in the UK that may pass away sooner than somebody who was from the Caucasian background. So that was really quite concerning for me, especially being a woman of colour. And then there are other social economic barriers stopping people. And when we look at companies, it's about having representation at the table. And one of the things that I would really want to talk about, first of all, is about creating a culture, a workplace where people can bring their whole authentic self to the workplace. When we spend so much time hiding our differences, not being our authentic self, that is time that is not being used productively at work. And I have seen people say to me, but what do you mean, Mandy? What's it mean about bringing your authentic self to the table? So to me, I'm a South Asian woman and I'm a woman, over 50. And so there's a lot of intersectionalities and there's lots of things that sometimes that I have to navigate. But I also know that I have a lot of privilege. And for me, it's about paying that privilege forward. So for me, it's about supporting people with disabilities, for instance, or it might be supporting members of the LGBTQI community, or supporting other marginalised groups and making sure that they have a seat at that table. As somebody who has smashed that glass ceiling, it's become a flaw for other people to follow me, behind me, and I'm very passionate about sending that elevator down. But at the same time, I'm also very aware of the economic barriers that are stopping people from achieving their dreams and their goals. And I'm often referred to as a woman lifting the next generation off the sticky floor. And people will say to me, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by the sticky floor? What I mean by the sticky floor, that all those intersectionalities, all those other unconscious biases, microaggressions people are facing every single day, which have now got worse through the pandemic, that we need to address those. We need to look at supporting people by being a mentor and becoming a sponsor. It's not just about mentoring, but I'm very passionate about becoming a sponsor. A sponsor is someone different. It's about creating opportunities and opening doors. And as I mentor and I support young women and other young people around the world, I'm really passionate about opening real doors. And it's about creating real opportunities for young people, whether that is an internship, a work experience for shadowing, or to get a mentorship through myself or one of my friends or my peers or colleagues, because I really believe in paying it forward. And people always say to me, well, why do you do that? And I believe in that actually when your glass is so full that is flowing with abundance, it's important that we tip that and pay it forward. So we allow new experiences, and that is how the world actually works. So what my pledge is about looking at some of those real issues that have affected people recently, in the last 18 months especially. In the UK, we have seen something called digital poverty. We have seen families had to choose between eating and heating. We have seen children who were not at school, at risk from harm and abuse and neglect. Families didn't have food. All those inequalities have come to the surface like never before. And when people had been furloughed, they had to choose and make choices, very difficult decisions. And there may be only one digital device at home. Some people didn't have access to the internet. And what happened was that a lot of people were left behind. The sort of, when we think about social mobility and we think about levelling that playing field, it wasn't the same for everybody, because actually before the pandemic, if you were already deprived and living in deprivation and living in areas of pockets of the cities around London, Manchester, Birmingham, where there is a lot of deprivation, where there isn't many opportunities, where there is high crime and poor health and short lifespans, those things had come to the surface. And as we always say, we're in the same storm, but we're most certainly not in the same boat. So I think it's really important that we think about our own privileges, think about creating real opportunities, especially for young people, creating a lasting legacy that actually everyone is able to thrive. Everyone is given the same life chances. So when we're doing a global reset, we keep hearing this word, but what does it mean? What does it mean to a young Afro-Caribbean boy living in London, or a young South Asian boy living in Tower Hamlet, and who's never really done well at school and actually has gone further back and now doesn't get the placement or the apprenticeship that he wanted? How do we tackle those issues? How do we tackle those mental health crises that have come across around the world? And I would say that if you're in a position of privilege, pay it forward. Look at mentoring, offering people work experience, offering traineeships. Pay it forward. Send that elevator back down. It is not for us to be holding chairs and sort of like holding those positions and thinking, great, I've made it to the top. I don't need to be worried anymore. We can no longer continue to be so selfish. It is so important that we think about and recognise our privileges, and we look at what we can do with ours. Look at where in companies, if you've started to work remotely, which most of us have, and that you have IT equipment that now is out of date, look at cleaning up the hard drives and donate those computers to your local communities. Give them to families that are vulnerable, that maybe need another tech device. I mean, I change my mobile regularly, every couple of years, but the one that I have may be a little bit worn and torn, but actually it still works. So again, it's about looking at giving those things away to help the most vulnerable, to sort of pay it forward, and also be about sustainability and think about our carbon footprint and think about what else we're doing. But again, I would like to come back to, when we think about diversity and inclusion, we have to think about our own unconscious biases that we hold sometimes. And, our brains are processing so much data every single day that it does make mistakes. And it can make judgments that you would be horrified about. And it is about just taking a second to think about it and think, hang on, is that right? Because actually we have seen this, and we've seen this being challenged into tech and into AI. The biases have now started to go into tech and AI. And I have been challenging companies in Silicon Valley and around the world to talk about those unconscious biases that we have, those isms that we hold. And those are now starting to filter through. And how do we do that? So it's about including diversity. Where there are companies with diversity, where we have a workforce that really represents the community, you're going to have people that are innovative, creative, full of ideas, with vision. When people can bring their authentic self to the table, they're not spending so much time hiding who they are. because actually all those hours that you're spending not being your authentic self is time wasted at work where you cannot be doing the tasks that you should be doing. So actually, by upskilling yourself, creating a culture where people can bring themselves, regardless of their sexuality, their race, their gender, their religion, or whatever, their disability, that they are able to thrive and do and contribute in your organisation. So when I do talk about passing the elevator back down, I want you to look at thinking about mentoring, looking at creating opportunities and paying it forward. And I can promise you this, because when you pay it forward, amazing things will happen for you as well. And I have seen through the pandemic the kindness of people coming together. We have seen companies think about their social corporate responsibility. They may not donate a lot of money because lots of companies have lost a lot of, income themselves. But actually they've allowed their staff to volunteer, give back to the community, help out, donate their time. And actually it's given people a sense of self-worth. It's helped people to develop skills, interpersonal skills, and actually help them to manage their mental health. So I think it's really important as we go forward that we think about all of those things that I've talked about today. And I would love you to think about your own social capital and think about your network. If you're a young person listening to this today, I would say to you that fear is only real inside your head, and outside your head it doesn't exist. Do not be fearful of failure, because trust me, failure, we've all had setbacks, and trust me, I have had more than I could count. But again, I've learned a lesson in every single one of them. I have learned about resilience. And what I would say to young people now, through the pandemic, as you have studied at home, you have had to juggle all these different things. When you are writing your CV or your resume, think about those skills that you have developed, the resilience, working in a different hybrid way, working, and developing yourself in so many different ways, and add those things to your CV. If you volunteered and helped people, add those things to your CV. And if you're in doubt, ask somebody else. Ask them about the skills that they see in you. What are the qualities, what are the interpersonal skills that you have that other people may see but you don't always recognise in yourself? So as we think about the global reset, and we're thinking of coming out of this pandemic, which we are slowly, but it's really important that we think about what do we do next. So a few tips and advice to me is now, let go of fear, because it's out, and don't be scared to reach out to people, because the worst that somebody could say is no to you. But as one door closes, another one will open. I've had doors shut in my face too, but I don't take it personal, because for me, it's about the cause and not always about the applause. Recently, I've been working to evacuate young people from Afghanistan. And, these people have left with absolutely nothing. But actually, it's now trying to help them to rebuild their life. And I'm getting people to look at creating opportunities for these young people, giving them experience in the West. If you have a company, hire a refugee or a migrant. Give them that work experience that they need, that they can add to their CV. We have seen young people leave everything, their qualifications, and now it's so hard to try and prove everything again. But we will get there, because we're all in this storm together. And like I said, we may be in different boats, but we will get there in our own time. It is really important that we think about our privilege, that we pay it forward, and that we bring other people up behind us. We tackle those issues that are stopping people living their full potential, their life of purpose, the life of their dreams and their passions that they want to. Create a culture where everyone can bring their whole authentic self to the table. And also, one thing that I would say, think about the gender equality, because those inequalities have come to the surface like never before. If you are a CEO of a company, think about, are you paying people equally for the same job? If not, why not? What are you doing? And I think it's really important that people use this time to reflect. Think about, your own kind of corporate social responsibility. Think about how you want to give back. What do you want your legacy to be about? And think about, you know, making a difference to people's lives. And, you know, we will come through this storm together. And I just wanted to say thank you. I really hope that you enjoyed the event. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will answer any other questions that people may have, or feel free to follow me on Twitter at Mandy Sanghera. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this conference, because I really am, and I'm just listening to all these great panels and great debates from different people, and it's just a great event. So thank you again, and well done, everybody.